Have you ever looked at your paycheck and felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment at the same time? Relief, because the money finally arrived. Disappointment because, deep down, you already knew where most of it was going. Before the month even began, it already belonged to rent, bills, groceries, transportation, and a dozen other obligations waiting in line. This is the story of a 31-year-old man named Nolan who spent years believing he had an income problem, only to discover that what he really lacked was a future worth paying. Nolan worked as a scheduling coordinator in a shipping company. His income was stable, around $52,000 a year. Nothing extreme, nothing alarming. On paper, he was fine. In reality, every month followed the same invisible pattern. Payday would arrive, a brief sense of relief would settle in, and then the money would slowly disappear into life itself. Rent, food, transport, small subscriptions, quick decisions made in tired moments after work. Nothing reckless, nothing obvious, just constant spending that left him in the same position every month. What made it worse was not luxury, it was limitation. Nolan had a dream he never really let go of. Years ago, he wanted to travel and build a photography portfolio focused on wildlife and remote landscapes. He even bought a camera he once treated like something important. But over time, it became decoration, a reminder of a version of himself that stopped moving forward. Then one Friday, his company called an urgent meeting. A major contract had been lost and restructuring was coming. Nobody knew who would be affected. The room was quiet in a way Nolan had never experienced at work before. Not loud fear, just silent uncertainty. Walking back to his desk, something shifted in him. It wasn't fear of losing his job, it was a much quieter realization. If his income stopped, he didn't know how long he would last. That evening, he did something he rarely did. He checked his full financial situation properly. Not guesses, not assumptions, real numbers. And what he saw unsettled him. He had less than a month of survival if everything stopped, less than a month separating him from complete instability. A few days later, during lunch break, Nolan sat in the company cafeteria still thinking about the meeting. That's when Gareth, a senior colleague known for being unusually calm under pressure, sat across from him. Gareth wasn't rich, he wasn't loud, he just never seemed worried the way everyone else did. Nolan finally asked him, "How are you not stressed about all this?" Gareth paused, then said something that stuck. "Because every paycheck I get has two jobs." Nolan frowned. Gareth continued, "One job is to survive the month, the other job is to pay my future." That line stayed in the air longer than the conversation itself. Nolan asked him what he meant. Gareth leaned back and said, "Most people spend 100% of their money on today, then they hope tomorrow works itself out. I don't do that." He explained the rules simply. The moment his paycheck arrives, 10% is automatically moved into a separate account, before rent, before food, before anything. That 10% has one purpose only. It pays the version of him that hasn't arrived yet. Not emergencies, not luxuries, just future stability. "Why 10%? Nolan asked. Gareth replied, "Because it's small enough that you won't break your life, but consistent enough that it builds another one in the background." That was the moment something clicked for Nolan, not as motivation, but as structure. That same night, he opened a separate account and named it Tomorrow. Not savings, not emergency fund. Tomorrow. Then he set up a rule. 10% of every paycheck leaves his account immediately and goes there. No thinking, no debating, just automatic. At first, it felt strange because for the first time, money was leaving his control before he could emotionally spend it. A few days later, temptation showed up. A new camera lens went on sale, the exact type he used to dream about. For a moment, he almost broke the rule. But he stopped and thought of something Gareth said. The other job is to pay my future. So he left it. Over the next months, something subtle changed. Nolan didn't become strict or deprived. He still lived his life, still spent money, still made mistakes, but now every paycheck had a portion that was untouchable in his mind. Tomorrow's money, and slowly, that changed how he saw everything else. Spending wasn't automatic anymore. It became intentional. Months passed, and the account grew quietly in the background. Not dramatically, just consistently. Then life tested him. His car broke down one evening after work. The repair estimate came to nearly $2,300. A year earlier, this would have meant panic, borrowing, delay, stress. But this time, Nolan sat in the repair shop, opened his banking app, and looked at the account labeled Tomorrow. It had over $4,000. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He simply paid. And for the first time, an emergency didn't control him. It passed through him without breaking anything. That moment changed how he saw the rule completely. The 10% wasn't about saving money. It was about creating distance between him and chaos. It was about making sure life didn't always get the final say. A few months later, Nolan did something he had delayed for nearly a decade. He took time off and traveled to a coastal wildlife reserve he once dreamed of photographing. Standing there at sunrise, camera in hand, watching light hit the water, he realized something simple. The future he had been postponing wasn't gone. It had just been unfunded, and every paycheck from that point forward had quietly been rebuilding it. Because the truth is, financial stability doesn't begin when you earn more. It begins when part of your income stops serving only today and starts serving the person you are still becoming.